Today we're talking about instance fields versus class fields in Java. Instance fields are a part of an object and can change from object to object. For example, let's look at these two computers. The features of the two computers would be the instance fields in this case. As you look at both computers, they both offer the same features but have different values for both features. So let's look at processor type breakdown. The processor type in these two computers are different. For example, this one offers Intel while this one offers an AMD processor. You can also look, for example, at the RAM in each computer. This one has 8 gigs while this one has a 12 gigabyte RAM. Or even the graphics card in both cases is different. This one offers an Intel HD graphics card while this one has an R7 graphics card. So as you can see, both have the same features with just different values. Class fields, like instance fields, are a part of the object, just that for all objects of that class, the class field will always have the same value. For example, with this computer case, the operating system would be like a class field. Both of these computers will run Windows no matter what, and the only way that this will change is if there's an update. For example, both of these computers may have run Windows 7 when you first get them, but after an update they may switch to Windows 10, and that would change both computers right away. If Windows had an update from 7 to 10, both computers would have to change, and that would be like a class field.
Hey guys, Roshan here. I'm here to talk about instance fields versus class fields, just as Aswin did in the last session of Unplugged. This is the second session for this unit. So, just to clarify, I want to talk about instance fields because instance fields are instances of a class. Since we're talking about objects, they're instances of a class, while class fields are relevant to all objects in that same class. When I say this, I mean that the value for class fields is going to be the same for all the classes, all the objects, all the instances of the objects. So, instead of the computer example that Aswin did, considering I think those are for tech freaks, we'll use this bike for example. Coming along now. Okay, so this bike, we know that it has, as I said before, it has both instance fields and class fields. The instance field per se would be the bike's color, as they could be unique for each bike, the bike's size, as well as the type of bike, because bikes can be mountain bikes, BMX bikes, things of that sort of nature. A class fields, however, would be things that are relevant to all kinds of bikes. Since we're talking about bikes, not unicycles, not tricycles, we're talking about bikes. So every bike needs 2 wheels. We're not talking about the specified type of wheel, but the 2 wheels. They need a seat. They need a handlebar. All bikes also need gears. And as you can see here, all bicycles need these things in order to actually be declared as a bicycle. While bicycles can be unique in these aspects. They could be a blue bike, a small blue bike, a small BMX blue bike, while it could also be a red, big mountain bike. And as you can see from that instance fields are special, unique to each instance of an object, while class fields are relevant and they're the same for all kinds of objects. Thank you to our sponsors of Mountain Dew and Doritos, and come back next week for another session of Unplugged. Alright guys, welcome back. Hope you've been enjoying the video so far. Now that we're done with the unplugged portion of this video, it's on to the actual coding for you guys to understand the difference between instance fields and class fields. We'll just fix this here. It can be known as class or static fields, and you'll find that out about that in a minute. And as we were talking, I used the example of bicycles in my unplugged session. So that's the example we're going to use here. And as you know, instance fields are used for an instance in time. So in this case, we're talking about objects, so it's instance of an object. And the first one I gave you was a string for the bike color. And I'm gonna put this to blank because it doesn't get an actual value until we create the actual object. The next one is bike size. Oh, I called that wrong. And then the last one was bike type. And as I said, BMX, anything more, honestly. Static fields, class fields. Now, class fields or static fields, they require the keyword static. You must use it. And here we talk about static int num of wheels. Because a wheel on the bike there needs to be 2 wheels. And then there's static int handlebar. And there's only one of those. Static int bike seat, which is also only one. And then static int bike gears. And you don't have to initialize these values here. Right here, these values 2, 1, 1. You can either initialize in your object class, or you can initialize them in your other method that you decide to use for actually testing. Which is why I'm leaving this blank, because I don't know how many gears there are in an actual bike. And now, to show you how this works, I'm gonna be using the interactions panel, using this constructor for my actual bicycle object to show you how the difference of these two actual fields. So first, let me just create my bicycle object. There's a bicycle b1 new bicycles. And since these are strings, you must use quotes. I'm going to use blue as my color, a big bike, and it's a BMX bike. That works. And so when you're calling the actual fields, you want to see the actual fields, you would do b1 when you're looking at the instance fields, as I'd say. I would say I'm gonna put this, considering my thing doesn't work, string color is equal to this. When I put out string color, it puts out blue, and then I could do another one for string size is equal to b1 dot bike size, and I put out size big because that's what I put in. And BMX would be if I was to make one for bike type, and as you get that point for that. But for static fields, class field, you do not call it using the object name because these are relevant to all the objects, all the instances. So for that case, we call them using the actual class name. That means we would do, my bad, bicycles dot num of wheels per se. And let me just put in into wheels. And I put wheels down, and I get 2. And I say another example would be in bike gears. Let's see what happens if we don't initialize it and see what we get. No, bicycles dot bike gears. Bike gears is set to 0, which is because we didn't initialize it. Now as you can see, since these are relevant to the entire object class, it's going to be used by, you're going to call it using this. Since these are relevant to single objects because they can have different values, we call it using the actual bicycle object name. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a good day.